And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. 2/3 of the over 183,000 First Nations people who reported they could speak an Indigenous language lived on reserve in 2021, highlighting the importance of community and language retention. We begin part 2 of the special episode featuring updates of language revitalization projects at Prince Rupert's Nation and Nation Conference.
Leistils, Hekwalifa, Gigayuila, Jachwilakaos, Yapilakaos, Hesilakaos, Apilakaos, Guachilakaos, Tihuilakaos, Aqualis, Tsuhulisla, Tsuwenchabe, Sankpara, Kapasu, N2, Hana, Ainam, Ame, Otlas, Mimanesutentkeich.
Teresa, in the video, you comment on this being a living, breathing resource, and that the work will continue. So I know that's also built into the project. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Is that what that looks like today? It seems to me, Scott, as part of this, there was education training of people within the Haisla community to continue that work on an ongoing basis. Can you explore that a little bit?
Yeah, a big piece of that was taking a look at our age demographics. And when I first met with Scott, we had about 101 fluent speakers. By the time we reached our first rapid word collection, we were down to about 86. So we lost a significant amount of knowledge keepers and fluent speakers in that short amount of time. And we also ran our first rapid word collection at the height of the pandemic. We had 40 participants, and it was very risky, in those times, trying to host any kind of events, so it was really challenging. But one of the biggest things that we had to do is a lot of our population speak English and understand, read, write, and speak English. And so we had to accommodate those people as well too, because I'm one of those people who only grew up speaking and understanding English. And so with that, we had to take a look at our orthographies that were developed by linguists, and we had to find a way that worked for us, that represented our language and the true sounds of our language without relying on English. So we had to really identify and kind of buck against a grain of people who did not agree with this, that we had to get our own alphabet, our own orthography. And that's still a challenge today, because a lot of people don't agree with us having an orthography or a writing system. But it's so important for the people who are English dominant speaking to have something different that will change and rewire your brain to read things in English, because you can't use the English language or alphabet to represent our languages. It just does not work. There's over 56 sounds or 53 sounds in Haisla Ella that cannot be captured with the English language. So it was important for us to identify that and recognize that we're all at different levels and have different needs of learning. So that's still an ongoing thing. However, from and since the rapid word collection, there has been a university course. I'm actually a student in the course. It's an undergraduate program around First Nations Haisla language certificate through UNBC. And with that, we were able to gain access to the person who's helped develop the hybrid orthography, we call it, because it's a combination of previous orthographies. And now we have a writing system. With that writing system and having the access to the university course, there's maybe about a handful of us now who can read and write in our language, and who can pick up those dictionaries now and read our language, which is monumental. Now it's a goal to get that writing system and that new alphabet into our schools and start teaching our children the language and the alphabet as we would the English alphabet. And so that's kind of the next steps I see. And also I think, I hope it's still in the working goals that they'll switch our daycare to full on immersion, because it's been proven in other communities that if you expose children from 0 to 4 years old to your language, they will thrive not only in their language, but in academics and other places. And when you know multiple languages, you can thrive very well. So that's kind of another goal that I'm hoping is still, on the table there for growth.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Since most on-reserve residents are First Nations people, it can be easier to learn and retain an Indigenous language when hearing it spoken and used every day. Let us return to the conversation, but first, Teresa Windsor shares more Haisla words.
Leistils. Kekwalifa. Gigayuila. Jachwilakaos. Apilakaos, Hesilakaos, Apilakaos, Guachilakaos, Tihuilakaos, Qualis, Zuhulisla, Twinchabe, Sankpara, Kapasu, N2N. Hana, Ainam, Ame, Otlas, Mimanesutentke.
Certificate that they are offering in the Northern University in Prince George, they are going to be able to go out into the schools and teach the language, because they will have that certificate.
What does a nation out there looking to get into partnership with FNEF around language revitalization look like?
The process is mostly a conversation. We're looking to understand what the goals of the community are and to see how we can participate, usually bringing capacity, methodology, and technology to the table. In order to do that and start marketing for funds, developing projects, we feel we obviously need an agreed upon way of working together. And when we're talking to funders, governments, and other proponents, we want to make sure that we're on the same page with the community, that we are speaking in the way that we agreed upon. That's basically what the MOU is, and it's in very straightforward language, and to be honest, it's a handshake. Anybody can cancel that MOU at any time. I don't believe in the idea in that way, because it's really describing a relationship that should be some kind of contractual obligation. The obligation that is in the MOU is confidentiality, which means I don't talk about stuff unless Teresa says, yeah, you could talk about that. And it's pretty much that straightforward. The other fundamental on the MOU is to absolutely in black and white describe that all content is owned and controlled by the community that we're working with. And it's really that simple. And then there's a bit of an outline on the things that we can collaborate on together. Again, none of which is exclusive. There may be, people that the community is already working with that have done a lot of work. If you've already done a lot of work and it meets the community needs, we want to work with you, The MOU gives us an opportunity to build a subject matter expert team to support the community goals. Basically it's soliciting permission to work on your behalf and work with you.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Diversity of Indigenous language is most pronounced in British Columbia. There are 22 First Nations languages that were reported almost exclusively in BC, with over 90% of their speakers living within the province. Let us return the conversation, but first, Teresa Windsor shares more Haisla words.
Owikus, Duhwa, Oxley, Abaxam, Guadam, Aquatalas, Abam, Chichwa, Noch, Matloch, Udu, Mo, Sikyoch, Katlaws, Maslaws, Uruchos, Mohos, Apu, Northkiel, Markiel, Urufkiel, Mufkiel, Sikyochkiel, Katlochkiel, Maslowskiel, Uruchoskiel, Nuchoskiel, Mentu.
Part of the project was supported and funded by industry that have been working in the region. Naturally, they should come to the table and support. But one of the things that I've certainly learned, having sort of picked up, having learned about the project, that I think is important for anybody thinking about wanting to support is to come to the table. Obviously, build that relationship just like any other project you get behind. But we've heard a lot of federal money has got caveats tied to it that makes it difficult or very prescribed as to how it can be used. And I guess a lesson for industry or a word of thought is just to release those funds to the experts and to the community and let them use the money as needed. And I know there's honorariums for elders that are involved and they're paid fairly to participate and share their knowledge as any of us are. I mean, we all have experience and knowledge, and so it's important that they are compensated fairly for that as well. And so step up to the table, support where you can, but don't micromanage the money. The benefits will come down the road, but you're just doing a lot of good at the end of the day to help a community out.
I want to add really quick to that on financing in 15 seconds or less. Okay.
Do it.
So okay. There are programs available through Heritage Canada that come through organizations in British Columbia already, none of which fit any of the work that we're doing, okay? It's always outside of that, and because it's always prescribed by the community and not the other way around. That makes funding very, very difficult. So how did the thing happen with Haisla and many other communities we're working with right now? First of all, we solicited and invited industry that had an interest in participating and working with the communities where they wanted to develop. We invited them to participate on a program that the community was interested in. Haisla program would not have happened, or it would have been very difficult without the support of Leadcore, Rio Tinto, TC Energy. Okay, they came to the table and put down money. The Nichuckle, the NKDF, okay? Other funding, and a huge shout out to NIB Trust, all right? Which is not managed by government. They actually manage a fund that came from a settlement for residential school survivors that was put together originally through the AFN. And NIB Trust supports the type of work that the community wants to do. They don't tell you what to do. So that's how funding was put together. It was quite a large group of people that got together to make it happen, including Haisla themselves, and communities where they put up people that are already working for government or in their community system in-kind contribution, as well as Haisla put in funds, venues, okay? So it is a large group of people that actually enable that to happen. If we have our way in a very short amount of time, Heritage Canada will see the opportunity to invest in the innovation that has been talked about for a very long time, and there's significant funding being held waiting for these types of new approaches in putting funding into community, one of which is innovation.
A lot of our young people were sent to residential school. We got punished for speaking our language,
I think my parents, along with other parents from the residential school, like if they spoke it, they were beaten. And a lot of them figured like moving forward as a people, it wouldn't be useful for us, like moving forward in the Western world.
For now else, it's highest language.
It's going to be lost if we don't do something now. We had about over 200 speakers. We're down to 80. That's one of my biggest fears, is that it's going to disappear before people capture it.
Ancestors, grandfathers and grandmothers, and all our ancestors who've gone on before us. Guide us and bless us as we move forward with this rapid word collection. To me, it's more than just the words. It's gathering all your knowledge, your stories, everything. There's a lot of history in this room. So I thank you, each one of you, for coming and sharing your knowledge, your strength, and your hope. Right. Let's go to work, folks.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Words are the building blocks of a language, vital to both communicating information and sharing culture. Indigenous people need to rebuild their infrastructures based on sovereignty and their immemorial rights to realize self-determination. In this final segment of Open Connection, we bring you highlights of Hayaza Rapid Word Collection.
This rapid word collection project is extremely important to me. So I was connected with Scott Geary, who's the program director for First Nations Education Foundation. We met in Vancouver in April of 2018. We are now in person doing the rapid word collection project.
Our education department is supporting, together with First Nations Education Foundation, to bring linguists from Trinity University. They've been amazing, coordinating this, pulling it together.
There's so many Haisla fluent speakers, silent speakers, we call them. Those are people who can understand the language but not necessarily speak the language. And there's a lot of young learners as well too. That to me defines success in our language work, is that we have all these people together in one room working towards one goal.
What I'd like the group leaders to do is really focus on trying to set a scene for sky objects. Imagine yourself on a clear night looking at a sky, the sun just set and leaving the stars are out. As you behold the sky, what are the words that are used to describe what you see, right? So imagine yourself in that situation.
In other processes to capture dictionaries, it's often the case that the language is made to fit English, and that can be a huge disservice to understanding your own language because it takes away your own sense of your own worldview.
It means a lot.
Means a lot, yeah, to rediscover our language again.
I didn't realize how much I remembered. We're talking about things that are totally, I thought I couldn't remember, but as soon as they start saying words and the other words just seem to come.
It makes me really happy to see them reliving memories. You know, like one of the topics we got was Ulukin, and Vera just started spitting out words like left, right, center. She had them all coming like right to the front of her mind, and she said, "Oh, this takes me back to when I went to Ulukin camp growing up." this takes me back to making the grace and watching the whole process.
It's a lot of fun and there's a lot of the laughter, which is nice because it brings out gets rid of the shyness, makes us come out of our shell, and then we start remembering the words that are no longer being used.
So I wanted to start off by maybe discussing who the Haitmas and Mujik are for each clan of the Beaver and the Raven clan.
And you know, when you look at the word and you look at the definition, it brings back a memory, and I'm able to say the words.
Yeah.
Gupsane
is big. Once you have this new understanding and this new language, I guess, to describe everything around you, describe your life, the people, the way you feel, what you're seeing. It's like a whole new worldview that you're given. It's like a whole new world you can tap into.
Made me feel whole, that I was going to learn my language and other people are going to help me. In this program, it made me feel whole.
Okay, how do you want me to do this? One word?
Yep.
So just once?
Yep.
Or twice?
Sure, why don't you say it twice? So
because I usually do twice with Chuck.
Perfect.
And when I was teaching, I would say it twice in Faisla, once in English, and then again in Faisla.
Whatever you think will be.
I'll say it twice.
Great.
Tsacham, fireweed. Tsacham.
Yeah, so let's get Allah, and then we'll get some.
Yeah, okay.
I just enjoyed doing this program all my life for talking Haisla.
Viral.
And someone will say I'm too cheeky.
It means a lot to me to be able to share.
They're eager to carry on their story, the family story, the nation's story for the future generations.
That's something that I'm seeing happening here, is that we're getting that perspective back as Haisla people, and that's captured within our language. We get a strong sense of who we are as a people through our language. It's amazing that this process is only a small piece of what's to come. There will be a website that will be accessible by our Giklut, our Haisla people.
I'm glad they're putting together this and eventually having it woven into the Western world via apps or online videos and dictionaries and whatnot.
What we more recently are doing is collecting our culture language team and getting organized and developing curriculum from preschool to post-secondary.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.